Today I'm going to talk about the best way to do FODMAP reintroductions, so stay tuned. Hi, if you're new here, welcome. My name's Amanda Malacheski. I'm a certified functional nutrition health coach and a digestive and allergy detective. For expert help resolving your digestive challenges, please be sure to subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every week. Now that you finish your FODMAP elimination period, how do you go about reintroducing FODMAP foods to test for reactions? By the end of today's video, you'll know what order to do the reintroductions, and you'll also know what kinds of reactions to look for. I see lots of clients get hung up on this step before they come to see me, so let's help you get set up to get the most out of your low FODMAP diet. Okay, quick review. FODMAPs is an acronym that stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols, which are basically just starches and sugars that naturally occur in fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, plant foods. In my last video, I talked about how the low FODMAP is one of the most scientifically validated diets to use for digestive problems like IBS, IBD, celiac disease, SIBO, and so on. And in the first phase of the diet, you eliminate high FODMAP foods for several weeks and evaluate how you do. So now that you've completed the elimination phase, the next step is the reintroduction phase. And this is the part where you test your body for reactions to the foods that you eliminated so that you can move forward only avoiding the foods that you absolutely need to avoid, and you can re-include the foods that you're missing and that aren't necessarily bad. There's a generally recognized process for reintroducing FODMAP foods, which I'll get to in a second, but I really like to recommend starting first with the foods that you miss the most. Because let's face it, those are the foods that you would rather get back into your diet quickly. So how do you reintroduce foods? Basically, you consume a small serving of that food and then watch for reactions. And for some of you, this might take up to a few days, which means that this is a great opportunity for you to practice using your Food-Symptom Diary. And if you need a little bit of support learning how to do that, please watch my earlier video, How to Use a Food-Symptom Diary for IBS. If you don't notice any symptoms, try a larger serving of that food again and watch again for reactions. And if you still don't see a reaction from that, then chances are you probably don't have any reaction to that food and you can safely re-include it in your diet. If you do have a reaction to one of those foods, then it's a sign that you should probably continue avoiding that food. And it can also be a clue about what other foods you might be reactive to. Reactions might look like increased digestive symptoms like constipation or diarrhea or reflux or bloating or abdominal pain, or they could be things beyond the digestive tract, things like joint pain or headaches or fatigue or things like that. So keep your eye out for those things. And if you do have a reaction, wait until that reaction has completely cleared up and subsided before you test another food. Now that you've tested the foods that you miss most, it's time to start working through the more traditional reintroduction process. And Monash University, which is kind of a FODMAP expert organization, has a really wonderful and comprehensive FODMAP app that you can download at the App Store for $7 or $8. And they recommend reintroducing FODMAP foods with these particular FODMAP sugars in this order. And I'm going to read this list for you. I have to look down. Fructose, sorbitol, which is a polyol, fructans, mannitol, which is also a polyol, lactose, and galacto-oligosaccharides. And the great thing about the app is that it has a library of FODMAP foods, and so you can look at that food and it will tell you which FODMAP sugars that food is high in. So you can select foods from their list that are high in these different foods in that order and give them a test. You want to test one food from each category and watch for your reactions. And if you have a reaction to a food in that category, you could test another food in that category, and that's going to give you some really good information about how to direct your FODMAP eliminations and reintroductions. It's actually going to help you understand which foods you really need to continue avoiding. Remember that the true purpose of any elimination diet, no matter what kind it is to help you get clear on your food symptom triggers and to only avoid those foods that are really truly a problem for you. We don't want to have you avoid a long list of foods in the long term. This is really not healthy and it leads to malnutrition and other kinds of problems. So you may not react to all high FODMAP foods. You might only react to one or two categories, and that significantly narrows the list of foods that you need to avoid. And that's really great because then you can enjoy a much wider range of foods and a delicious diet. Once you've tested the categories, you should have some really good information about which foods you need to continue to avoid and which foods you can safely add back into your diet. And now you can move into what's called the maintenance phase of the FODMAP diet, where you just continue to do what's working and avoid the things that aren't working while you work on resolving the underlying causes of your IBS or other digestive challenges. And the next step in this process is to focus in on supporting your digestion, maybe with things like stomach acid or digestive enzymes, and also probiotics, which can really help balance the microbiome in your gut. And I do have videos about these topics for you. I'll be sure to leave links for those in the comments down below. Which FODMAP foods are you aware of that set off your gut symptoms? Tell me about it in the comments. So that's the process for testing for FODMAP food reactions in the reintroduction phase. Start with the foods that bother you most and then move on to testing the different categories of FODMAPs one at a time so that you can narrow down the list of foods that you have to avoid and you can reintroduce the foods that aren't bothering you. I can understand, though, that keeping track of all of this is kind of confusing. It's a really complicated system to some degree. And sometimes I even have a little bit of trouble keeping track of it. So if you need a little additional support sorting out what to do with your FODMAP diet or any other diet, there are two main ways that I can help you. First, I invite you to download my gut guide called Roadmap to Gut Recovery. I alluded to it there for a minute where I talked about the next steps in the process. The Roadmap to Gut Recovery lays out the process that I use with all of my clients, and you can get a sneak preview at how that works by going to confluencenutrition.com/roadmap to download your free copy. I'll be sure to leave a link for that below this video. Or if you've already tried a lot of these steps and you're left still feeling really confused, I would love to meet with you for a free 30-minute assessment session to help you understand what your next best steps in the process might be and to help you understand where you might be getting hung up. And we can also have a chance to talk about what it would be like to work together. You can schedule that free 30-minute assessment session by visiting confluencenutrition.com/contact, and I'll look forward to seeing you on my schedule. All right, I hope that this video helped you understand how to best go about FODMAP reintroductions by starting first with the foods that you miss the most and then working in a step-by-step process to test categories of foods. I know this can sound a little bit overwhelming and it can be time-consuming, but I promise you that if you work through this process, it's really worth it. You will come out the other side with less symptoms. If you liked this video, please like and share, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to make sure you don't miss my future videos. And next week, I'll be talking about troubleshooting the FODMAP diet. So be sure and tune in then. And leave me a question in the comments if there's something you'd like me to answer. Take care.